speak, and so I'm just ecstatic to be here. I'm thankful and I appreciate all of you coming. So what if I told you that what we use as money in the world is about to change? I'm pretty sure that all of us here agree that there's an elite group of people who run the world. And they pretty much already have control over things like our education system, entertainment, social media, big business, big pharma, and unfortunately, I would add much of the church on there as well. I'm not happy to say that. You know, I'm not one of those people who wants to like bash anyone or anything, but I do think that the church, unfortunately, is in there as well. But one thing we don't hear a lot about is the elite's control over our money. And I think that this is worth underscoring, and really why I wanted to come in and talk about this, because what we use as money has already changed in our world. The fact that we're using dollar bills. And much of the deception in each of these other areas is leading to what I believe is another change in money. And it's unfortunately going to affect all of us. So you see this symbol here? We've all seen this symbol before, right? Does anyone know where? On the back of the dollar bill. These two symbols right here are heavily Masonic symbols. Everything you see about this, the eyes, the shapes, what's in the bird's hand, how many of the arrows are in it, which hand it's in, everything has a meaning in this. And, you know, in summary, I believe that whoever invented this believes that America is going to help them usher in the New World Order. You see this term, novus ordo seclorum? That means basically out of many one. I think they think America is key to their New World Order. I think they believe money is going to be key to their New World Order. So let's jump ahead for a second. We've probably all heard of the mark of the beast, right? In Revelation chapter 13, it says, "Also he causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on their right hand or their forehead, so that no one can buy or sell." I think the most common understanding of what this means, so that no one can buy or sell, is control over money or the system that's processing transaction. Now the truth is, it kind of could be some other things. It's not really that simple. But if we're trying to sum it down, it is that simple. In the previous verse, verse 15, he says that it was also given power to him to kill those who would not worship the image of the beast. I think that's important because back in Matthew 24, we see that when the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel stands in the holy place, then we're supposed to run and flee, right? So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that if he's killing people who will not worship him, if he's being worshipped, he's probably standing in the holy place by that time. So why do I say this? Because I kind of just want to give you a timeline about where I believe we are at in this whole fulfillment of money, prophecy, what's going on. So if Revelation 13, right, where he's telling us, you know, we got to take this mark. And then Matthew 24, it says where, okay, he's in the holy place, now you got to flee to the mountains. I believe we're in verse 7, or before verse 7. "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be wars and famines, pestilences in diverse places." So this is Matthew 24. I think we're here. So we're kind of waiting for there to be wars against all other nations of the earth again. I mean, we've already had many world wars, right? But the culmination of the war hasn't been a new world order, right? So I think that we're here, and why I think this is important is because we're just going to kind of cover this timeline. What you do with your money is going to be important during this timeline, okay? So in the meantime, God shows us the way to protect ourselves, I believe, from what's coming. So my name is Mikhael, and I'm here to talk with you about the future of money. And this is going to be an introduction to what money is not, and what it could be very soon. So first, I actually would like us to pray. So the first question is why? Why did me, this skinny 28-year-old white guy from Rochester, New York, want to come in and talk about money? So in 2016, this was me. All right? And I was working 50-hour weeks. I was making minimum wage in a commercial cleaning job. Now, I want to say that commercial cleaning is important. We need people to clean things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to be honest with you. I hated my job. I did not like my job. I worked there for well over a year, and they gave me $1 raise. And that was like a big deal. You got a $1 raise. That's a lot. Some people give you, 45 cents, and that's great. So I have to admit that I was insecure about my future. How was I ever going to have a wife? How was I going to have a home? How was I going to supply for my kids? That's really what was going through my mind. So it's not just so much that I didn't like my job. It was also that I'm seeing a future that requires more money, and I'm making, less than $400 a week. And so that was just a struggle for me. It's funny, I throw this in here just to show you how my mind works, okay? I was driving like a 1984 Buick at the time, and it was just tough for me. I was like, I really want to have a family. I want to buy a home. I want to do these things. And so basically, I felt overworked. I felt underpaid, and I was desperate for something different. I just wanted to do something different with my life. I said, if it's possible, please help me to make more money. I live in Rochester, New York, is unfortunately an expensive city. Since I first worked there in Rochester, minimum wage has already risen to like $16 an hour. So what turned out is that Yah gave me my wish. He was about to rock my world with what he showed me. So I learned about money management, I learned about business, I learned about investing. I started an advanced digital marketing company called Imagine. And I've worked with all different companies all over my city. I work with companies some of them are doing over $40 million a year in revenue now. It's crazy that I can even be here and say that I'm doing this. In the past year, I've actually spent $150,000 just on ads for my clients. And we're running about what's called a 4X. So I've made almost $1 million for my clients in the past year. So I do know something about money. And I want to show you some of the other things that I learned, though, because I didn't just learn about money, business, and investing, okay? I also learned about debt. I learned about the Federal Reserve. And I learned about Yah's design for money. Did you know that? Yah has a design for money. We look at money like music videos, this flash of the money. You got YouTubers just like buried in it. Every single one of us has used money in some way, shape, or form in our life. Look at this guy. He looks happy, right? He's got like $3,000 and hundreds in his hand, right? Tell me, what are the chances that this guy will ever question what money is? Why is he using dollar bills instead of a different currency? Amen. Right? Where does money come from anyways? The truth is that most people will never question. And there are consequences to this, okay? The first is debt and poverty. There are systems designed to entrap you. I think a very common one are student loans. There's very few things that are worth getting a student loan for, because in the long run, if you even get a job from your degree, it could even pay it off, plus the interest. So that can be a consequence of being ignorant of some of the systems of debt. Another thing is banks can profit off your ignorance, usually in the form of a savings account. People don't know this, but you take your money, you give it to the bank. Most banks are fractional reserve banks. That means by law, they only have to keep a fraction in reserves. It's something like 2 out of every $10. They have to keep in the bank. This is insanity. Besides the fact it means if everybody goes to withdrawal at once, they could never do it. They take your savings and they invest it in things like stocks and mutual funds. They'll make a 5 to 10% yield and then give you a 0.002% interest rate. They have a name for it. It's called wealth capture. Banks capture your wealth through ignorance about money. And I guess worst case scenario, we could lose everything in a financial collapse, right? Let's say the dollar goes to zero. If you have all your savings in dollar, your savings goes to zero, So even more than this, there's a spiritual deception here, okay? Did you know that Scripture talks about money over 2,300 times? Did you know that 11 out of 39 parables are about money? My little daughter, I hear her crying over there. I can't help, my heart just breaks. I want to go pick her up and make sure she's all right. It's all right.
She's in good hands.
She is in good hands, that's right. Yeah. And she's just like, Daddy, be quiet. Do you think this is because God wants us to be rich? To be stacked with money? You think this is why the Bible talks about money a lot? I actually don't think so. I think the reason why the Bible talks so much about money, why the Messiah talks so much about money, was because it's an integral part of our life. We use money all the time. It is important whether we like it or not. You will use money in your life. And so this needs to be brought into subjection with our heart attitude. What does God want us to view money? What does He want us to do with money? We all know this verse too, that the love of money is the root of all evil. This is such a powerful statement. Because do you look in the world and see lots of evil? Right? Do you want to understand it? You want to understand why? Then you have to understand the love of money. How we handle, spend, give, or generally deal with our money says a lot about us, doesn't it? What you do with your money. Who you give it to if you give any of it. The Bible talks about being a generous giver a lot, right? So I think money is important. So the first question is, what is money? Well, if we start with the mighty Google, Google's going to say that money is a current medium of exchange in the form of coins or banknotes. This is incredibly short-sighted. But they did give us a little information. Can you see banknotes? So let's look at that. A banknote is a piece of paper money constituting a central bank's promise to pay a stated sum. Okay, now we're a little closer. And now, I'm sure everyone's also heard of the term currency before. I wanted to throw that in here. So currency is a system of money in general use. So all of these give you a tiny piece, but overall, incredibly short-sighted about what money is. So I think like all truths, they have their foundation in the Word of Yah. Am I right? So I want to start there. Well, I guess I started with Google. But now I want to go to the more important thing about what Scripture has to say, okay? Interesting, the Hebrew language actually doesn't have a word for money. But in every biblical passage that it refers to money, it talks about a unit of weight in gold, silver, or another metal. Here are some stones with inscribed ancient Hebrew. So you see shekels. Everyone heard that term before. Shekel, that's used a lot throughout Scripture. We're going to see some other here in a second. So really, it would have been strange in ancient times to consider money anything other than gold and silver. Okay? Gold and silver are synonymous with money. You can see this is just some references in the Old Testament. There's another, we see the shekel. These are scriptures found in the New Testament. See this one here, a drachma? We'll come back to that. That was 0.1 ounce of pure silver. That's not a lot, but gold and silver were used as money, not just in Hebrew culture though, but actually in every culture across the world. And I'm trying to build this up here, okay? So we have the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans. They all use silver and gold as their currency, okay? So we as believers, I think, could conclude that God placed gold and silver strategically throughout the world, and all nations using it, they benefited by following God's design for money, all right? And this is where I think, I hope this like shakes you. Okay? Because at this conference, we're talking about things like flat earth. Okay? We're talking about, like, just that one alone. That is big. There are just so many deceptions surrounding these things. And we always go back to history. So you ready? Yes. Only in the past 125 years has gold and silver been removed from its monetary role. So look at all history. Only the past 100 years. Have we not been using what God designed, I believe, to be used as money? And by ignoring this use, The central banks have taken control of a lot and created enormous economic imbalances. Okay, so they manipulate through monetary policy. They expand balance sheets in the form of debt that must be paid back with interest. If I gave you $10 and said, hey, pay this back to me with interest, wait a second, I only gave you $10, you owe me $11 back. Did you know that there's actually not even enough currency in circulation to pay the debt off on the currency? Right. This is an enormous trap that we are living in right now, okay? So overall, it enriches the wealthy who know how to utilize debt because they use their debt against their assets, which is why they never pay anything in taxes. While the poor and those the working class, like us who work for our money, are robbed of our savings in the long term. So I believe, according to Scripture, silver and gold is money. Actually, in the 2nd chapter of the 1st book of Scripture, we learn about gold. And a river went out from Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. The first is Pison, the second, which compasses the land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. In Haggai 2:8 it says, silver is mine, gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. Gold and silver is a product of God, not made. It can't be manipulated. There's only a certain amount of it. It has to be mine, and they can't just inflate it like they can print dollars with the press of a button. It's designed intrinsically valuable and beautiful. They cannot be chemically broken down anymore. Silver and gold are actually very unique metals, and they do not rust, fade, or tarnish. Gold, all of it that was ever mined, is so soft it could be compacted into an 8 by 8 foot block, and yet 1 ounce is so fine it could be hammered thin to cover 100 square foot area. Silver is actually the best conductor of electricity, and it's irreplaceable for virtually all modern technology. And this is kind of cool because name anything. Cell phones, computers, TVs, self-driving cars, solar power. Silver is irreplaceable in all these forms of technology. So they actually mine silver, and most of it every year gets destroyed in technology because of how they use it. And silver is also a well-documented antimicrobial. It kills bacteria, fungus, certain viruses. Did you know that silver is key to the purification of water? You know how people purify water? Silver. It's crazy to think about. But these are like very special elements that God designed, okay? Gold and silver used in Scripture, most notably probably the temple. Just look at this for a second. What was the temple? What were they going to do in the temple? Some important stuff, right? Well, King David set aside 100,000 talents. That's 7.5 million pounds of gold. 75 million pounds of silver were used in the building of Solomon's temple. It has here also the lampstands, utensils, forks, bowls, pitchers, all this. So excluding bronze, really they say the temple was worth something like $260 billion. That's such a big number, historians actually assume that they had just exaggerated this number. I don't believe that. I think the Scripture is true in this record, so that's pretty intense. But even more so than that, gold and silver has a spiritual meaning. Psalm 12:6 says, the words of the Lord are pure, as silver tried in a furnace, refined 7 times. Psalm 66, you have tried us, O God, you have refined us as silver is refined. Zechariah says, refine them as silver, test them as gold. Paul says in 1 Corinthians that upon this foundation, if someone builds gold and silver, precious stones, the work will be made manifest. So I believe Paul is highlighting these elements' ability to withstand fire. And this is a powerful comparison to our walk in the Messiah. Why? Because blessed is the man who remained steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. Did you know that the struggles you face in your life, whether they be financial, they be relationship, they be work-related, God wants to use this to refine us into an image more like the Messiah. 1 Peter 4 says, don't be surprised when a fiery trial comes your way, as though something strange should happen. But rejoice if you partake in the Messiah's sufferings, and you may also partake when his glory is revealed. Romans 5 says, even more so rejoice, right? So I think it's pretty cool that these elements are used as an example of our walk with the Messiah. I don't think that's an accident. I think that's because these are special elements. Yah knew it. He said, look, build the temple out of it. And since really that point on, all the patriarchs used this as an example of how we're supposed to be refined in our lives. And that is key. We need to be refined as silver is refined. We need to be tested in our life like gold is tested. And just to put the cherry on top here, in Matthew 17:27, the Messiah said, hey, go cast a hook, take the first fish that comes up, and when you've opened its mouth, you will find a piece of money, and then give that to for taxes for them and for you. So some translations actually take the word money out and put drachma, which we know is a piece of silver that we learned before. So silver and gold is the only thing Yeshua considered money. And that's just like checkmate to me, okay? But, so anyway, so now what isn't money? So now that we know what money is, I mean, our culture's not built on now. We don't walk around using gold and silver coins, right? So what isn't money? Well, first is paper currency. I don't believe paper currency is money. The second thing is cryptocurrency. I don't believe cryptocurrency is money. Let's first start with paper currency. Paper currency is paper. Think about it, right? It has no intrinsic value. It has no redeemable value. And in the long term, I believe it's a deception that will rob you of your hard labor, the wealth that you have worked for in your life through inflation. And then even in the long run, I think that this system is going to rob us of our liberties. Okay? A system that we won't be able to opt out of. We all have to use money, don't we? Currencies do have some value though, okay? Currencies have use value because there's no need to carry large sums of metal. It's easier to transact in, it's easier to divide. And again, the whole world has used precious metals until the past 125 years. So while the US dollar wasn't the first currency, it was the best because of one reason. They used to be redeemable in silver and gold. Did you know that? You know these bills? You walk around with these bills. These used to be redeemable in actual silver. This is a silver certificate. What we use today is what's called a Federal Reserve note. Big difference. We're going to talk about how they make this change. So this is like I said, this is a silver certificate. You can see here at the top it says, this certifies that there is a deposit in the treasury of what? $1 of silver, right? Like, a dollar was actually a weight in silver. Did you know? That's how the dollar got its name. It was a weight. And look here also at the bottom. It says, payable to the bearer on demand. So you used to be able to take this, give it to the bank, and on demand, they'd have to give you real money for it. Okay? You ever heard the term dollar bill? By the way, that's kind of the change that's been made. You know what a bill is? If you're going to a restaurant, you ate the food, and you said, hey, bill please. What do? They come and bring you a receipt. You take the receipt, give it to the people, and then you pay them what you owe them, right? That's how it used to be with these silver certificates. These were receipts for dollars that the Federal Reserve had in stock. So you take it to the bank, and they would give you silver for it. They changed everything. Okay, because now what we have are Federal Reserve notes, and these are legal tender now. They're not redeemable, and of course, as we said, they're already paper. So guess what? Oh, and by the way, fiat currency, that's what this is, means by decree. So in a nutshell, the dollar is worth something now because America has the biggest guns. That's literally it. They loan out Federal Reserve notes to other countries now and indebt them to America. It's terrible. What's going on? So AKA, the dollar is worth nothing, but literally receipts of debt. So it's kind of hard to explain this, but basically when they switched it to a Federal Reserve note, the silver dollar is gone, but what still remains? The debt! That is insane, folks. That's absolutely insane. These are bills. What we're carrying in our pockets right now are literally bills. And the American people are going to pay that, not the government.
It's like we should almost try to be getting rid of them.
Really?
We're guys with these wins.
It's true. It actually is true. I didn't realize how close I put that under there. But the government takes out this debt in our name. We're going to have to pay it. The U.S. debt, a portion of that is ours if you're a U.S. citizen. It's crazy what they're doing. So let's just go over a brief history. 1776, America was formed. By 1792, they had passed the Coinage Act, which basically established a mint in Philadelphia, and that's where they started to make coins. Right. This was a foundation for U.S. currency. Then about 85 years later, silver certificates were formed. That's a long time, by the way, almost 100 years. 100 years later, silver certificates were formed. These were in denominations of 10 to 1,000, and again, these were redeemable, right, in silver. Then within 50 years, the Federal Reserve was formed. Why? Look at this little note over here. To alleviate financial crisis. Isn't that funny? These systems that are destroying our world, stealing our wealth, manipulating our lives, are here to help us. It's insane. This was really where everything quickly picked up and went downhill. Oh, and by the way, the Federal Reserve is not federal. Did you know that? They don't represent our country. They're a private organization. They have no reserves. They just print money, and they're not even subject to our laws. The Fed's like the Vatican. They play by their own rules. 1933, we all know that's kind of a significant number. The Gold Reserve Act was passed, which essentially, this is the Gold Reserve Act. This is 34. It's actually a little bit different than what happened in 1933. But basically, it was Roosevelt who changed the laws on gold and actually banned it. So U.S. citizens couldn't own gold from 1933 to 1967. It was outlawed. Why did they do this? Oh, to help us. They wanted to help us. After they did this, by the way, they banned gold, they collected it, paid you $35 an ounce. Yeah, they doubled that after. They doubled their money. Took your gold, paid you $35. Gold increase rose to like $70 an ounce. And by the way, gold today is like $1,700 an ounce. So gold has maintained its purchasing power while your dollar is not. Okay. 1965, they removed silver from our coins. So now our coins aren't even made of any precious metal anymore. All what was silver, I actually have some here. I brought it. Let me see. So these are all pre-1965 dimes. These are 90% silver. Did you know the coins that we had were made of real money? Not anymore. They replaced it with zinc. And then in 1971, they had officially removed any type of tie to gold and silver being connected to the dollar. And that was Richard Nixon. So, and again, this was supposed to provide stabilization. It's amazing how they hurt us while trying to convince us that
5 days ago was the anniversary.
Yeah, right. It's coming right up.
No, just past 5 days ago.
Oh, 5 days ago?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
on your slide.
Yep. So, 1963, payable on demand was removed. We talked about this, which is this term here at the bottom. And then by 1982, they had even destroyed the penny. Now the penny is no longer made of copper. They're like, yeah, let's just change that to zinc as well and give it a little coating of copper. Do you know that copper actually is still a precious metal? It goes copper, silver, and then gold. And actually, I believe silver is even worth more than gold. Silver was used as currency way more than gold in history. And anytime you look at scripture too, they always seem to reference silver first, silver and gold, not gold and silver like we do today. But yeah, they just changed this. So I hope you see what's going on here, right? All these changes have been made, and then here we are here today. This has been a long systematic debasement of our currency. And really, this isn't just by law, but by design. Because our currency, by design, is inflated on average 2% every year. In fact, from trading economics, you can see a chart that says in 2021, our inflation rate is actually double that. It's over 5%. And the truth is, right now, it's really over 10%, folks. All the stimulus that went on last year, you know how much money they printed last year?
30% wasn't circulating.
Yeah, and you know what? The one I'm about to show says 40.
It's like, yeah,
It's insane. Right, it's like the same. Here's another one from Statistica. Does anyone actually believe that inflation last year was 1% in 2020? No, it makes no sense. They're lying right to our face, okay? 40%, or as our brother in the back said, 30%, well, the same low of 30, was printed in the past year. 30%. It took the United States almost 300 years to accumulate $1 trillion worth of debt. That number doubles now every single year. That's why I think this is becoming really important, what's going on here, okay? And why we need to get back to God's system, even on our own. Even if we don't benefit from it in the world system, I think it's going to benefit us amongst ourselves. Amongst people who are, maybe they're going along with the system, but they still have compassion for us outlaws. So it's true, man. They're just print money like no tomorrow. These people are crazy. And by the way, did you know whose countries have already been debased this way in history? This has already been done many times. Like, say, in China, like in Germany, like in the Soviet Union, like in Russia, like in Argentina, like in Zimbabwe, like in Venezuela. This has gone on multiple times. They destroy a nation through its currency. Mayor Rothschild, we all know that name, he said, let me issue and control a nation's currency. I don't care about its laws. Vladimir Lenin is a very evil dude. I don't know if you know who this dude is. He said the best way to destroy a capitalist system is to debauch its currency. Thomas Jefferson, who I hope we all know here, was actually a 33rd degree Mason. I don't entirely have that figured out, how this makes sense, what's going on. But he said, if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, and that's what we have, the banks and corporations that grow up around them will derive the people of all their prosperity until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquer. It's a powerful statement from this 33rd degree Mason. But, have you ever seen this design, what $20 bought in 1998? I was, how old was I then? Oh my God. I was 7. But that's what $20, right? Over time, our money is buying less. Why is that? That's by design. In 1964, minimum wage was 90% silver quarters. In 2021, these same quarters have a melt value of around $23. So the point is that we don't need higher minimum wages. We need sound money.
Right.
We need something that can't be debased on purpose over time. So here's a few interesting pictures. This is in Germany. You see, they used to make money out of their currency when it collapsed. It was actually cheaper to burn paper money than it was wood. These are bolivars, Venezuela. This is what it takes to buy 6 tomatoes. What it takes to buy a roll of toilet paper. This is called hyperinflation, okay? And there's debate about whether we're already in hyperinflation, but this is what it's looking like. You want to know some of the things why we may actually not see this physically?
Electronics.
Pardon me?
Electronics.
Bingo. Because we're working most of our transactions, 90% of transactions are done by card, right? So it actually makes it easier for them to debase the currency because we're not actually seeing what they're doing. We're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes. That's insane. That's insane, right? Like, what's that, like cheese, butter? Want some cheese and butter? You can walk in with 2 fat stacks. There's pictures of people walking in with wheelbarrows of money. It's crazy. So in summary, you work hard, get paid in dollars. You lose purchasing power every year by design. And the only way to preserve your purchasing power is by converting your cash into silver and gold. These assets maintain their purchasing power over time, especially in the long term. So for example, all the inflation that's gone on in the past few years hasn't even caught up to precious metals yet. So it may take some time, but make no mistake, it always goes through. Again, that's why when they first banned gold, it was $35 an ounce, and now it's $1,800 an ounce, right? So obviously you could also take your savings and invest it in other things. You could put it into stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. There's a question about those. So really what I'm trying to say is that this is about wealth preservation. You work, you have a savings. It's losing purchasing power every single year. So you save that by converting it into silver and gold. However, silver is very undervalued. I believe gold is undervalued too, but these monetary metals are very undervalued right now. They're not even at their historical gold to silver ratio averages, which means how many they're mining of one compared to the other. They used to be way lower. Like I said, they mine silver a lot now and then destroy it. Also, silver still hasn't reached its all-time high, which is $50 in 2011. It's like half that now. So that, like, silver's on sale. That's what that means. But, and obviously, we're living through massive inflation. So you want to have somewhere in your portfolio room for these assets. Professional, like, mutual funds will tell you should take 10% of your investable assets. 10% of your investable assets. I honestly think it should be between 30 and 40, at least. Because there's just been so much money printed. There's just been so much. Like, there are real reasons due to the math that by next year, silver could be $100 an ounce. It could be way more than that. Really, man, there's so much I'm not trying to say, but even this is manipulated. They manipulate this through the paper market. There's a paper silver market. Did you know that they trade silver on the stock market? It's called paper silver. So get this. So if people start buying physical silver more, they sell digital silver in the stock market and keep the price low. Supply and demand. They manipulate it. So it is 100% manipulated. The point is, the music's going to stop, folks. It is going to stop.
It's even called the silver fix.
Yes. The music is going to stop. So I think there's even a more important reason why we should be holding precious metals. And if you hold them, keep them in a safe, stay armed, or keep them at like an undisclosed friend. Some people even bury it because they know they're not going to touch it for 5 years or whatever. But you obviously have to be safe whatever you believe it's going to be for you. But I think it's about to get real, folks. Because now let's talk about cryptocurrency. And if anybody here is a fan of crypto, has made money off crypto, I too have made money off crypto. I bought Bitcoin back when it first hit $20,000. I more than doubled my money. And because of that, I studied crypto, and I am very concerned, okay? Cryptocurrency. Here's what's great. It's even easier to use, divide, and store than physical currency, whether that be silver or gold or paper. It's true. It operates on a decentralized network that no single person controls. That's also a plus. And really, blockchain technology is pretty cool. You can do it like, blockchain just as an invention is it's sweet, all right? We just don't live in a perfect world. In fact, we live in a very elite, evil-controlled world. So it's not going to be what people think it's going to be. And so I really want to talk about this. So here's the problem. There's really no such thing as a cryptocurrency. In the singular, there's multiple currencies, cryptocurrencies. And our government has labeled them as assets. And that's really important. They don't look at them as currencies. They look at them as assets. Because guess what? They're about to issue their own digital currency. They're not, I'll get ahead of myself, but people who are fanatic about crypto, they see that and they're like, what? So I will explain myself. The network is not actually decentralized. I'm about to prove that to you as well. And also, I believe blockchain is what's paving the way for both the technology that will enable the beast system and the culture that will accept it. Okay? See where I'm at. I think I'm way over, guys.
You're fired.
All right, I got to run through this. Bitcoin was not the first digital currency, okay? There were others, Digicash, Hashcash, B-Money. These failed because they were centralized and hackable, and that happened to all of them, okay? Bitcoin was invented in 2008, and it fixed what was called the double spin problem, because people could take those other currencies and spin them 2, 3, or even more times.
You know a rough translation of Satoshi Nakamoto?
No.
Central Intelligence Agency.
I don't doubt that, and the reason why is because I know that that's a pseudonym.
Right.
We actually don't even know who invented
Or
Bitcoin.
Central Intelligence Agency. Yeah.
So there you have it. The CIA invented Bitcoin and released it under that name. Okay? The block was first mined in 2009, and then in May 2010 it was used to buy something. Pizza. I just find that interesting, but
No, it wasn't.
Mt. Gox.
Bitcoin. It was 10,000 Bitcoin to buy one pizza.
Right. Mt. Gox was the first Bitcoin exchange. They got robbed for 760,000 Bitcoin. So this is only the beginning of the problems for Bitcoin because of its transaction times, its mining fees, and really the security of the exchanges. Exchanges are getting destroyed, folks. In fact, I found out yesterday, it was like 12 hours ago, another exchange in Japan just lost $90 million in crypto. I got this on my phone yesterday night.
Which one?
It just says in Japan, CNBC, more than 90 million in crypto stolen after top Japanese exchanges hacked. So crypto can't be hacked, but the exchanges can, okay? So here's the thing. Ethereum was invented to solve the problems of Bitcoin. And my whole point here is that this system is heavily flawed. And every new crypto is trying to solve issues with other cryptos. Okay? So this whole thing is a big chain game. None of these cryptos are going to make it, guys. None of them. Okay? They've officially caught the eye of the government. They're like stocks and bonds, which is a key distinction, okay? Because do you really think they're going to let a decentralized, unregulatable currency that gives freedom overthrow the monetary control they took over the past century? No, it's not going to happen. People who sit here and are diehard into crypto, I'm sorry, you don't understand. They will never allow that to happen. And if they do, they're just going to regulate it. They're just going to regulate it. They're already regulating crypto. There was a crypto hearing at the Senate 3 days ago. It's already begun, okay? Here are some other ones, the CTF, the SEC, the IRS, the KYC. So it's ruining stuff. Maybe it would have been the greatest thing ever, but they're ruining it for us, okay? So, and this is blockchain.com. What do you want to know about crypto? It's completely public. This is a YouTuber who single-handedly tracked a crypto scam called Save the Children. See all these lines? This is real. This can track through public addresses what's going on. So what I'm trying to say is that to be truly decentralized, it must be private. Because anything they know about, they can regulate. Period. So people want to say that this is going to solve all these issues. I don't believe that's going to be the case. Because if they know about it, they will regulate what you do with crypto. I would love to take what you're saying. I think I'm heading into Michael Solomon's time. So I'm sorry, I need to feel like I'm taking over here. The U.S. Federal Reserve is also launching a new project called the Digital Dollar Project. It's going to support the US as the world reserve. It's going to improve all these problems that thousands of cryptos are trying to solve right now. Let me tell you, the government's got more money, more time, more people, more resources. They are going to do it better than us. Okay? They're going to provide all the different safety things they say. The government loves the idea of a cryptocurrency. They love the idea of a blockchain. And they will do it better than us. And so this is just important to know, because hey, if you want to be in crypto, buy low, sell high. Power to you. But keep in mind where this is going. A new technology is unfolding, bringing in with it the digitalization of things, a value that can be tokenized, programmable, and decentralized. We believe the United States should take a leadership role in this new innovation and launch a tokenized digital dollar. And it will be basically the future of money, as they say, okay?
Have you heard of Nassar Jassar?
What? So, Michael Solomon, I'm going over your time now here, sir.
No, he starts at 10:30.
10:30?
I started at 10:30.
Oh, I got 5 minutes. Okay.
Wait, oh, good, okay.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure. So listen, what could money be very soon? I think there's only 3 options. We either go back to silver and gold. I don't think that's going to happen. We either go back to a government-issued digital currency. This is probably going to happen.
Yes.
Or we go back to a gold-backed cryptocurrency. And guess what? That may actually happen, folks. Because guess what? Who happens to be the largest buyers of gold and silver in the world?
China.
Central banks! Central banks. In fact, it's funny you mentioned China, because they believe China is underreporting how much gold they've purchased in the past few years. Governments purchase more gold and silver every year than all the people of the world combined. Tell me, why? Why are they buying all this silver and gold? Look at this. Some of these banks purchased more than double what they were in 2020. Why are governments stockpiling gold and silver, guys?
Real money.
Could it be that maybe they know a financial reset is coming and they want real money in their possession? They know that this is all a facade, our dollars, our crypto, this is all a facade that they're lulling us to sleep with while they literally take hold of all the real money by design. Okay? So, let's just take it, in either case, I think it's going to go digital, whether it's backed by gold and silver or not, okay? But this is going to be programmable money. Picture money that you can only purchase at specific items, at particular times. The crypto could be set to expire. It could be expired. The Fed, all the stimulus, here's your coin. You have to spend it by 3 o'clock. Or it can only work in specific locations. Guys, this is scary. Do you want to give the government that kind of power over your money? Do you want them to be able to program your money with whatever agenda they have? I don't think so. That's right. And we're about to get to that. Everything will be monitored, right? And I also said that true decentralization is not just separation of powers, it's privacy. If you can't have privacy, they can regulate what they know you do. So I don't think it's a good idea to give this power to the government. Do we agree on that? No, blockchain is awesome. It's going to change the world, no doubt. But I think it is also going to usher in a new type of tyranny we've never experienced, okay? So, and then you just also mentioned vaccines. We've all heard of ID 2020, right? What they're trying to do. They're already trying to bring all these things in conjunction. And I got to end here now, out of respect. Michael Solomon, I hope you guys check him out. Michael Solomon is a great speaker. He has so much awesome content out online. Another factor here is artificial intelligence. I think this is coming into the space. I would love to tell you more about it, but essentially I'll just give you a whole little update here. This is a post by Mark Zuckerberg. You know who Mark Zuckerberg is, right?
Yeah.
He invented Facebook. Listen to this.
No, he didn't.
Facebook droid.
He just did, yeah, right, or reptilian, whatever. So he just did an update with their whole board, right? Well, guess what? They're working on something called the Metaverse. This is insane what he says here, okay? It's for creators' commerce in the next computing platform. What is the Metaverse? Oh. The Metaverse and this is definitely scary, folks, is that it's an embodied internet. The metaverse is a virtual environment where you can be present with people in digital spaces. You won't feel like you're looking at it, you'll feel like you're in it. This is creepy, what they're talking about. You all know Elon Musk's Neuralink? I'm telling you, I bet these things are linked. What's Neuralink? Neural signal interpretation of the outside world back to the brain. I bet you this whole metaverse thing, this augmented reality, they're trying to combine it all. Oh, and by the way, apparently, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon don't like each other because a SpaceX rocket destroyed one of Facebook's satellites. We all know that is impossible. Okay, so that's propaganda. All right? You're going to feel like you're really there with people in other places. I'm telling you, this is just creepy. What's he talking about? No one company can build it by themselves. What the heck? He also says that there will be need for new protocols, standards, devices, chips, software. Dude, this is going somewhere, folks. Money's going to be a part of this. AI is going to be a part of this. And then lastly, he says in the next few years, he wants Face to be seen as a metaverse company, not a social media company. So that's crazy, folks. So in conclusion, I believe it is wise to take your savings, get some physical assets in there. Because I think this demand, there's going to be digital crisis too. You know, that's how they do things. They create a crisis and then here's my solution, right? This has already happened. I'm just going to skip over this. So what we can do, put some savings in precious metals. I think it's wise, especially where we're going with the world. And above all, we put our trust in God as our provider, as our protector, and to bring us to the ends as faithful servants of the Messiah. Amen? Amen. Hey, thank you guys.